What are some of the simple repairs that we non-professional repair people can do?
So most common things are springs, they are not anymore working properly, and that's maybe just a problem because the case dropped or whatever, not even the flute has to drop, but sometimes the case drops in your backpack or so, and then a spring can fall out, and you see, if this spring comes out, you have no chance to play properly.
Right.
As a teacher, you should have at least 3 tools in your flute bag for your students. First, a screwdriver, quite a small size, so you get into this, you see this tiny little gaps there you have to move in. So you need a screwdriver quite small. It's called a 00 usually. The second one is a fork, looks like a fork. That's an old screwdriver. I filed in this fork here. You see it in the top?
Oh, wow.
And the third one is a hook. See, springs can fall out. Here that's a spring. It's not anymore at the proper place. And they can fall out when a student maybe drops the backpack with the flute inside and it falls down. And even in the case, it's a bump and then the spring falls out. If the spring has maybe the wrong tension, too much down, it's easy to the spring goes out. So put them back. You use this fork and you just go back like this. Okay. You go just underneath, you behind, and it's working properly. It's not much more difficult to do that back there. So the B flat key is not anymore moving properly. It's moving, but it's not coming back by itself. So this spring has to go back there. And even harder is maybe the G or the G sharp. You have no chance to put them back. If they come out, they are either not properly made, or I don't know, or they are broken. That sometimes happen. But then you have to come back to the shop. You have no chance to do that by yourself. The F sharp and the F, they are 2 springs here, and sometimes it's hard to take the upper spring. It's hard to get out. First you have to move the lower, that's the F sharp key, and then that's the F. So if you put first back the F sharp, you might not get back with then. You have no space between the spring and the spring hook there. So you have first to get in the F sharp spring, and then at the F, and then the F sharp.
Okay.
That's the E here, and for the D key. For the D key it's mainly no problem either, because you can't move it away underneath the spring arm here. But that's the most used tool. Sometimes on the E flat there is a spring underneath here, and this one is really hard to get back to the place. Then you need a hook. From the back side you can hook on the spring and pull it back. If you do let's say on the C, the spring, it's loose, and you pull it back and you pull too much, then you have no tension anymore. So the spring has no tension anymore. You see that it falls. The spring is in the proper position, but you pulled it too much, so there is no tension anymore. Then you have to unhook it and pull the spring a bit to this direction, so you have in between a bit space, and then you can go back and hook it in, and then you have again the tension you need. These things are quite proper. Now we have talked about the spring. There's another spring, a flat spring, underneath the thumb key, and you have no chance to move this forward and back. You have to remove the key. But these keys are usually not a problem.
Okay.
We're coming to the keys. As an example, you push down the A key, and the B flat key goes with it. And on the back there is a screw there. You might see it here, this tiny little screw.
Yep.
And now I loose this screw a bit just to show you. And it's now not anymore We do it a bit more, so it's, see, now it's not closing. So the,
I see this a lot with my
Yeah,
students'
right.
flutes with various keys.
some flutes have quite weaky screws, and the screws are loose from the beginning, and then we have to tighten them. Don't take crazy glue to fix the
Oh, good
screws,
Lord.
otherwise we have no chance to take them off or to move them, so we have to cut them out or you to heat them up and whatever, you know. But if you do it properly, you can just go to this tiny screw and clockwise direction and move this in, and then you go and look, it needs a bit more, and that's a bit hard to find the gap from the screw. That's, no, it's okay. That's maybe something you have to do in one or twice or even in three moments. If you do it just in one, it's maybe too much. If you pull the screw, if you screw this too much in, you will see what happened. Then the A key is not anymore covering. So that's a bit going forward and back, how much you have to twist the screw. Usually it's only maybe even less than a half a circle. Okay, and again, here again. And the same here, the G, and the G, that's the lower G key or the G sharp key. You see the G sharp is, and that's the same, it's the same meaning. There's a small screw up here. And this one here, E, also you can go in and twist it back and you see it's okay or not. That's easy to handle. Then the other one is the F sharp. That's probably beside the B, the most adjusted key, or the key you need adjustment. And that's a bit tricky. The screw is underneath the lever of the B, so it's quite there, and you have to move this one a bit forward or back. So that's proper too. And see, now there's the bridge to the B. There's a little bit play in between. If you're playing the F to the B, it's a bit play. And that's on the back here. And there is no screw. What you can do here, you can take tape.
Tape?
Yeah, these, you know, these
Scotch tape.
Scotch tape, because that stays underneath, and you put it underneath like this, and then you test again and say, oh, perfect. And then of course you have to go to the shop, and they will replace the felt or adjust the felt. But for the moment, it's pretty well done. That's just a piece of paper. But if you use Scotch tape, it sticks there, so you can cut it maybe a little bit with a Caesar close, and then there should be no problem. If you have a problem with a felt, if maybe a felt is destroyed underneath here, or maybe a a pad came out because the screws, the little screw underneath there, if you take a key here, if you see this one here, the pad is like this here, and the little screw here in the center falls out for some reason. Usually, sometimes it can happen. Then the pad falls out. You see, then the pad can fall out. So what you can do then, you don't have to screw anymore. It's missing, but then you have the possibility to have Teflon band. Then in the hardware store you get different sizes, and you can just cut maybe a couple centimeters. Cut it like this, and now go underneath the key. That's a little bit hard. It's quite a surgery. And then you are underneath, and then you can pull it on the top and just twist it around. And if you look underneath, it looks like a proper pad, you know, and it works perfectly.
That's a good temporary fix.
So that's your Christmas concert is safe.
Ooh,
okay.
Very good to know.
So that's something you really can do. It's probably a bit it doesn't look very nice, but it works pretty well. if you have screws, they are falling out. Sometimes the screw on the G sharp key here, on the G key, sorry, it's maybe loose. It's not tightened from the factory, and by moving 100,000 times forth and back, the screw comes out. And we often have screws, they coming like this. They are not falling out, they can't fall out, but they are loose. And the whole key is shaky. And if the student plays a G, the lower key doesn't cover well because the screws is loose, it's going forth and back. And then they might play the G properly, but F, E, D, they have no chance to play a proper note down there. So always check the screws. And when we begin at the G key, that's the minor, the most important screw you have to check. That would be better to having a long screwdriver like this than a short one. It's a little trickier to handle this one with a short screwdriver, but you can put this screw back and pretty fairly hard. Don't slip away and hurt your finger. It's hurting. And then you have the other screw is here on the top. That's the C sharp, the little one here. Look, this one is tightened pretty. The trill key screws, the little gap is there. It's nice tightened. Then you have, of course, the down key. This one is quite important too. And then you have on the lower end, you have the trill key again here, and you have the on the right hand mechanism. These 2, 4, 6 screws has to be tightened, and if you check them, there is no problem to fall apart.